And welcome to another episode of What the Tech. I'm your host, Rolando Rosas. And if you're new to the show, or to What the Tech, we talk about office life as well as technology trends that impact your work from home or work from the office. And joining me on the ride today is my co-host, Dave Kelly.
Rolando, nice to see you. Hey, listen, yes.
Hey,
You
good
know
to
what, man?
see
We talk,
you.
I'm laughing right now because we talk technology, we talk office trends, and sometimes we talk food. I was just kind of talking to our guest in the green
Yeah.
room. One thing that he and I have in common, we appreciate good quality cuisine for sure.
Oh, yum, yum,
And
yum,
middle of
yum.
summer, last week in July, I can't believe it. Hey, Rolando, what's the best thing that you ate this summer?
Oh my. At home? I mean, that's probably you know what? I've gotten really into making burritos.
Mm,
And I'm burrito everything, chicken, burrito, beef and steak and ground beef and fish. So everything burrito. It's easy to make.
wrap it up
Wrap
all
it
in
up.
one.
Oh, absolutely. Easy to go. And if you have some leftovers, you pop it right in the toaster oven and you have a nice snack.
Hey, maybe we do a cooking from home special one day.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. I like it. Maybe we ask cooking home. You know what, Ori, put that down. We put it in for maybe a Labor Day special or somewhere like that. Maybe a Christmas special. Who knows? But I like that idea. Well,
Awesome.
let's talk about what we've got in store for our audience today because it's a topic that I'm interested in. You're interested in. I know a lot of people are. We've got a special guest, Shane Howard, to help us talk about work life balance as well as what it's like to work and live abroad. He's got a special journey that he's on, going abroad, taking his business and his whole family with him. And he's got a lot of interesting tips and what that's like. He's also doing a docu-series on it, so people can follow him on that journey while he's packing all the way to moving in. I'm sure he can fill us in on some details on that.
Yep, absolutely. So we were going to talk about XPAC. So according to XPAC Insider Survey, did I pronounce that right, Rolando?
Expat. Yeah.
XPAC.
Oh, you're talking about the trivia, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So according to XPAC Insider Survey, which country is the most welcoming to foreign workers? So we'll
Mm.
have to get Shane on this at the end of the show and
And
see
and
what
for
see what he has to
and
say.
why don't you read out what those are? Because there's some people that are watching and some people that are listening to us. So go ahead and read that list.
All right. So we have our neighbor to the north, Canada. We have Vietnam, Colombia, Oman, Costa Rica, Portugal, Taiwan, Mexico, Cambodia, and Bahrain.
All right, there you go.
Did I,
Oh
did I
man,
pronounce all of those correctly? That
I
is
think
the
so. I think you
question.
came really close. And if we didn't, go ahead and send us a comment and let us know what you think about Dave's pronunciation of these countries. Well, as you said it, Dave, we've got some stuff to talk about with Shane. Let's talk about Shane. Let's introduce him. Go ahead and put up Shane's beautiful picture. There we go. Let me tell you a little bit about Shane. Shane is one of the world's top motivational speakers for today's youth, as well as educators. He's on a mission to internationally impact as many lives as possible around the world. Shane's humble beginnings make him a perfect figure to inspire the educational world as well as the corporate world because he's got a lot of stories to tell, especially about his journey while he's moving abroad, remote working, and a whole bunch of stuff. And we'll get into it with him. So let's welcome out of the green room, Shane Howard.
Thank you guys for having me.
Hey,
Hey,
Shane,
Shane, thank
thanks for
you.
coming, man.
No
Tell us
problem.
where you're joining from. Joining us. Where are you joining us from today?
Yeah, I'm currently in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, about 35 40 minutes south of Louisville, Kentucky. Right here in the heart of what locally is known as bourbon country. So right here all the Kentucky bourbon distilleries are all within
Yum,
25 30 minutes of my house.
yum,
Oh,
yum,
so
yum.
so
That's
food and bourbon. Got it. All right. You must be
Ab-
easy for Christmas time.
Yeah. I also evidently make a really good friend because people want to, they want to attach to those things as well. So yeah.
that sounds so yummy. Oh my goodness. I'm hopeful that over the coming weeks and months as things and conditions improve and we can move around. That I have yet to do one of those. I've done wine country, a little bit of wine country here and there, some vineyards, but no, I haven't done like the distillery bourbon country thing. It sounds like it's about time to head down there and take a look and do some sampling.
Yeah, no, it really is. And a lot of people don't know this, but Louisville is probably one of the top 5 or 6 culinary cities in the country as well. So there's a lot of amazing food. The bourbon industry does a lot in the culinary world as well. So it is definitely an area of the country that you need to check out if you enjoy some brown water and some really good food. Absolutely.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. And
Sounds
like
like a pro tip.
like a pro tip. That's right. Not a bad for a pro tip. And thank you, Ori. Pro tip: Louisville's the place to be if you want great bourbon and food. I said it. All right. You know what? Before we jump into all of the happenings and all of the meat with Shane, let me just remind you to like and subscribe while you're watching. We love having you on our platforms, on all the different platforms. If you have a question today, send it through while we've got Shane with us. If you're watching us during the playback, sit back and relax. You're in for a good treat today. So hit that button, subscribe, like, all that good stuff, because through the week, we release other nuggets, sometimes some overtime with the guest that you only get to find out if it went down, if you get notified on the platform of your choice. So now we've got those particulars out of the way. Let's jump into the quote, Ori. All right. So there's a familiar face right here, Mr. David Solomon of Goldman Sachs. You know, a lot of people look up to our business leaders like Mr. David Solomon, and they want to know what's on his mind, particularly remote work. He was in an interview on CNBC, and this is a direct quote from him, and I'm just going to read it. So for those folks that are listening to us today, I do think for a business like ours, which is an innovative, collaborative apprenticeship culture, this is not ideal for us, and it's not a new normal. It is an aberration that we're going to correct as quickly as possible. So Mr. David Solomon doesn't seem to be a fan of the remote work life and people working from home. Apparently, he thinks that it stifles creativity and innovation in apprenticeship. And over the last 18 months, a lot of you that are watching and listening to this may have a different opinion. I certainly do. And I want to ask our guest, Shane Howard, about that.
Yeah. So, I'll be, I guess I'll be filtered a little bit just in my work. I don't want to.
Don't censor yourself.
Yeah.
Go ahead and speak the truth.
Yeah. So I think he's missing the mark here. I think there are a lot of people. Now, I come from an entrepreneurial background. So an entrepreneurial background. I mean, my previous company, Custom College Recruiting, that I built, I literally built from my couch, and we spanned to 53 different countries around the world. So it's not for everybody,
right?
But I think we've also seen all the studies coming out where 30 to 40% of all workers that are currently remote, if they were asked to come back into the office, they would rather quit.
There we go. We got it. We got it right here, Shane. Yeah. We've got the survey. This is a Bloomberg survey, and it was 1,000 adults were asked, and 39% of them said they would quit. And then that number went up to 49% when you asked the younger crowd, the millennials and Gen Z. That number was as high as 49%. And this was July 1st of this year. So it wasn't last year. It's much more recent. And just like what you said, folks are saying and I think just the other day I saw our buddy Steve also put out on LinkedIn some information about how April and May were record months for people voluntarily quitting the workforce.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers out there that sometimes get confusing for what I will call the average citizen or the average person paying attention. For example, we look at the unemployment numbers, right? The unemployment numbers actually because I'm a single member LLC in a statistical number, I'm not considered employed. So I'm actually considered unemployed. So,
Interesting.
these things don't get, so while there's these different numbers, we have actually probably record number unemployment right now because of so many people working their own business and, single member LLC out here doing these different things. So these things don't get taken into consideration. We're dealing with a lot of archaic systems in this. And, this gentleman, while there's no doubt he's probably much smarter than I am on many different things, and he definitely knows his business. And I think that's really what it comes down to. You have to know your team. You have to know your business. And if you're willing to draw a hard line in the sand, that's a hill that you need to be prepared to die on. Again, I don't know his self-awareness. I would assume he's very successful and has very good self-awareness because of the position that he's in. But it's not a uniform thing that we can say, no, you're coming back in the office. If you're a leader and your individual contributors are struggling with the option, maybe you're not doing a good enough job of letting them know how safe it's going to be, letting them know their life completely shifted. Now all of a sudden they're also daycare at home because the daycare shut down and the daycare lost its business. So now how do you tell people, there's a lot of variables in place, and you have to take those things into consideration. And ultimately it comes down to leading with empathy, and you have to have those things.
This is interesting because, we've had a whole episode focused on empathy. I think it'll be okay, for David to change his tune down the road. I don't think anyone will blame him or call him a hypocrite. And what Rolando and I will continue to do is follow up. These are all current interviews. It'll be interesting to see how this kind of plays out in the end, because, again, if you have a conversation with folks that you work with that are frustrated, someone might say to that frustrated individual, hey, you're not on a contract. Nobody's forcing you to work here. You can do what you need to do that's best for you. Stop complaining, make a change in your life for the positive, and do what you want to do. When people start taking that with this new trend, again, we've all discussed it. There's more opportunities. There's a greater reach, new industries that we can get involved in, new organizations that weren't in our backyard. Maybe back in the 90s, we'd have to relocate. Things are changing, and we'll stay in front of Mr. Solomon to see if his opinion changes on that as well.
Well, I think that, if a smart business person like him, you realize that things are not the same, like you said, Shane. And most people that before the pandemic started had a different idea of work. And if about let's just say a third of the workforce has a different attitude about work, then that will impact the work itself. And if a third of your employees are willing to leave the job, you're going to have a crisis on your hand. It's one thing if you have 5% turnover, 6, 8, maybe 10. Once you get to a third of your workforce willing to put the white flag in and walk out the door, you could potentially have big disruptions on your hand internally, just trying to make things work from a continuity perspective or operationally.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think it's one of those things where as a listener or a subscriber to you guys' platform, I think it's you also have to take a self-analysis of your own situation as a leader, as a business owner, right? And what's good for Goldman Sachs is not good for the local entrepreneur who has an office of 200 people, in a local community somewhere. And then you have to say, okay, why is our team pushing back on coming? Did we not do a good job before the pandemic? So there's so many variables there of, is it our fault? Is it our fault that we're not communicating well and we're not doing a very good job? And what can we change? And I believe this, and I know you guys have Steve on not too long ago, and we talk a lot about this. As an individual contributor, as an employee right now, you have more power and more choice than you ever have in a workforce in this country, in the United States.
True. I think so. I agree with that statement. And I think the power is shifting. If we just deviate a little bit off topic, I think that that's really the last frontier left for. There's many frontiers, but I think that workers' rights is one of those things that is still undone. It's still not complete. There's still there's still a lot of work to be done. And as somebody that employs people, I'm in favor for workers being able to have just as much rights as other countries where, we want to be number one. We have to also be number one in workers' rights, among all other things. And this is a great country, and I love this country. It's given me so much as an entrepreneur. But I want the people that work for me and that work for other business to know, hey, you know what? We want you as a valuable person to contribute to the organization, and treat those people humanely. I think that's what it comes down to. People know when they're not being treated right. And when they're not, and in this case where things are shifting underneath every industry right now, the power seems to be sliding over to the employees a little bit more than let's say 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, I think over the last 18 months we've heard the words thrown around a lot, equal, right? We're talking about people, whether it's, human rights or workers' rights, these different things, right? And we've also heard this word called equity. And I don't think a lot of people understand both of those. If I have a child who has special needs and I have two children that don't have special needs, I can't treat them equal. I can't parent them equal. I have to treat them and parent them with equity. So I have to give each one of them what they need to survive and be the most successful human being they can. It just so happens that I may have a child that needs extra attention, needs extra support from hiring someone out, or needs extra tutoring, or these different things, that we have to look at that the same way as a leader in looking at business. Here is what we need to do. And this person is a massive importance to our country, or to our company. And we need to say, hey, I need to put you in place, and we need to be a little bit more flexible with that person. What's funny is in the sales world, or very sales heavy driven businesses and industries, that typically happens, but it only happens for your top contributors or your most successful salespeople.
Very true.
So yeah, it's an interesting outlook on it for sure.
What? I think it's just going to get more interesting with time, because I don't think when you give somebody a little bit of freedom, they want less of it. If anything, people generally want more rather than less. And this last 18 months has demonstrated that. And like you said, people that are working at home, their daycare may have shut down. And it makes it difficult for some folks working from home, whereas before, just take the kids over to daycare. And that's what I wanted to also transition into a little bit of, was some of those myths that people have. And I know before the show, we put out a little promo talking about, a honey-do list that, such and such's husband says, here you go, you're working from home. So now instead of watching Netflix or sitting around the couch doing nothing, I want you to go ahead and finish off this list. And I want you to, you've talked to many people around the world. Just let us in on what your experience has been like with other entrepreneurs, as well as other people who work from home. Is that true? Is it true that people are sitting at home just consuming Netflix and just have all the time in the world to goof off?
So the top level answer to your question is no. I will also preface this. My wife saw that promo.
Yeah.
So she assumed that was a story or some information that I have passed along, and that was about me. So I laughed for about 20 minutes, and she said, "Are you serious? Did you are you?" And jokingly, I was like, "Babe, that wasn't like." I've not met these guys yet. What's
your wife's name?
Her name is Sarah. So
Sarah, he didn't give us, Shane gave us no input on that promo, by the way. Actually, we shot that before we knew exactly what we were going to jump into. So, Sarah, if you're all over him, it was just blame myself and Dave and my producer.
No, I appreciate that. What's wild is she has actually recently quit her teaching job and taking on an online tutoring business that she started. And so we kind of joked. And the reason I said that is because the other day, teachers are preparing to go back into the classroom and those things. And she was stretched out, sitting up in bed, working on her computer. And she took a picture and she says, "Hey, if you need me, I'll be in my office." Right. Like it's like just joking. And she's getting used to this whole work from home kind of thing. Right. So, is that what people are doing? Here's what I will say. Sure. You're going to have some people doing that. You're going to have some people that are probably going to take a break and play some video games. You're going to have some people that are going to take a break and they're going to go out for a run, or they're going to go out for a walk, or, those different things. What I will tell people is if you're focused on what they're doing, you need to be more focused on, are they doing their job? And those are two completely different things. Is a person meeting quota? Are they on time with their projects? Are they doing what I need them to do? And if so, should we really care what time of day it's done? Should we really care, what they're doing, like how many hours it took to do it? Like we have to, all these different things. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about this as we're approaching this podcast. What would be the easiest way to explain, especially work from home, remote? There's so many different forms. Like you said, you could start morning to 9 to 5. It could be, 5 to midnight or whatever. A lot of work can be done just about any time of the day. And there are many flavors of pizza. You have pepperoni, you have sausage, you have combination, you have plain, right? Work is not just sitting at a computer 9 to 5. Work can have many flavors. And just like a pizza has many different flavors, some people like some better than others. And if you don't like pepperoni and you want a vegan one, I'm not going to eat the pepperoni one because I'm not vegan. I'm happy to be vegan, but the vice versa. If I don't like vegetables on my pizza, I want the meat lovers. Give me all the meats, sausage, pork, all of it, right? So why treat work like one size fits all? Hybrid, I think Steve said this as well. There's 100 forms of hybrid work, right? In person combined with some remote work, maybe working remotely 3 days a week, in office 2, 100% remote, right? So I think if you're listening to us and you're an influencer in your organization, I would say, explore what your employees are saying. Some of them want to be remote. Some of them want to come in the office, right? And that may be because, they may be in a small apartment. There may be a young person living in one of the big cities and they want to walk to the office every day and work from the office because it's too distracting to have their roommates work with them all the time. Just talk to the employees. They'll tell you exactly what they think. And that makes the organization much more resilient, and folks want to stick around instead of heading for the exits.
Absolutely.
Sure. Okay. Good. Let's move on to another topic that I want to ask you about. I want to read something to you from Slate. And since we're talking about leaders and managers, why don't you put up that quote, Ori? Okay. This is a Slate article that just came out, and it was a manager, and they asked for people what they thought about remote work and what's happening. And in this particular manager, it's been exceedingly difficult to attract any candidates with our no flexibility policies. So someone probably similar to, maybe what they work for Mr. David Solomon, who has been told not to hire more people for remote working. And then this person went on to say, I myself am looking aggressively to move to a 100% remote position, and I'm far from the only one in my company to leave over our outdated butts in seat mentality.
You can tell that you can sense the frustration in his voice when he's making that particular quote. As a manager, we're trying to attract employees. The product is the organization, and that just leaves such a bad taste in my mouth for sure. Shane, I don't know. How do you feel?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it goes back to this thing of, leaders. I mean, let's be honest. There's probably many more bad or mediocre leaders in the world than there are great leaders. That's just, I mean, there's just sheer numbers, right? So when you look at that and you say, okay, so how can I be a great leader in today's world? I think the very first thing you can do is have your own self-awareness and your own knowledge to where am I at? What, like, are my biases causing me to make or put some policies in place that the team doesn't want, that we can't hire people? And ultimately hiring people, and there's a difference in hiring people or convincing people. And if you're convincing people, they're not going to stay around. If you're offering these bonuses, and if that's what you have to do to bring people in, then there's something fundamentally wrong with the process and how you've hired over time.
And do you think that speaking of that, do you think that so the bonuses and whatnot, it's just speaking to the moment as companies are struggling to
Sure.
get their arms around what's happening, the trend and the trend where more people are saying, "Hey, I don't want to be somewhere where remote working is not an option." Do you think that's just a flash in the pan? We're just kind of this is the experience of the moment, going through the motions. It's what's hot, so we got to cater to those people. Or do you think that's just something that's going to be lasting as we move through this?
No, I think that in some form or fashion, this is going to last. You have fast food restaurants, for example. Now, fast food restaurants, for example, have historically been a lower wage, job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden,
Right.
you see them averaging or advertising $15, $20 an hour. Well, what took you what all of a sudden now, because there's a labor shortage, you felt like that's the case, right? And then the second part of that is I think you have a lot of people. Let's talk about wait staff. Let's talk
Yeah,
about people who are making $3 and $4 an hour
that's right.
plus tips, right? Now, when restaurants shut down, those people still had to make a living. Contrary to popular belief, not all those people went and just sat around on unemployment. They went and found other jobs working online to supplement their income.
Yeah.
Well, now they've seen, wait a second, I can have a better quality of life and not have to go to work till 2 a.m. and deal with bad customers and deal with, getting food all over me and dealing with, these different things. They don't have to do that. And Steve put this, I hate to keep referencing Steve, but Steve put this very, very directly about a month and a half, 2 months ago, is we're seeing the greatest career migration in history. And it's just starting because people who never could have fathomed that even what I'm doing and going and living in another country, and they never could have fathomed these things, that they can go do this and how easy it is. They have options, they have access, things that are going away that have been barriers of entry for a lot of people in these jobs coming from an entry level job, like mandatory drug tests. Yes. Or felonies. Now, that's probably going to go away and not be a question. Even for me, I don't have a college degree. So a college degree is not going to be as necessary, or it shouldn't be on most things at all. Are you good enough and can you perform the job? And that is what we should go to. And then I'm going to pay for quality people. I'm going to pay you a better than good wage because I believe in you and you're worth the investment. And that's, I think, what we're going to get to. So I think a lot of these industries are going to struggle because their economics, quite frankly, aren't built on it. They're not built to do what they need to do.
For the workers, what an amazing time. And I hope that we continue to put this messaging out, and I hope that they hear it. You don't have to be stuck here. There's more opportunity, and now there's more opportunity than ever. You just mentioned industries. Shane, what industries do you think could benefit the most from this hybrid or work from home model, but maybe they're not taking advantage of it, but they could probably see a great return on it?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that are primed for disruption, and it's not as much the work from home. I think that gets lumped into the flexibility of work, right? So let's look at two industries like education, and let's look at an industry like the fast food business. Okay, maybe your employee at the fast food restaurant. I'm catching myself trying not to name a chain here to single anybody out, but let's say that they had to sell their house, or they were evicted, or whatever happened, and now they're 25 minutes away from their place of employment. They want to keep their job, but because of their situation now, it's considerably harder for them to get there. And this is the case, most franchise owners in a community own multiple franchises. They do, right? Mm-hmm. So rather than say you're stuck at this place and this is your place of employment, do I have a location that's closer? Can you maybe work there 2 days a week and then here 3 days a week? Is that easier? Does that make it better for you? So then you don't have to have the car as much, and you can share the car within your household if that's what it takes. These different things, right? Let's look at education. Historically, we've said teachers, you have to come in, you have to do this, you have to be here all day. Teachers, over half of all teachers polled are considering leaving in the next 12 to 18 months.
Wow. What's the number one reason for that?
I think now
you have an educator in your house. So
I do. I've got my whole family is educators. I know a lot of educators. I communicate with a lot of educators. I think there's a culmination of a lot of things. The devaluing of educators and the, unprioritizing of their success in a lot of ways, and say, well, education's about the students. Well, it is, but you have to have people there to actually teach the students. Like, you have to take care of these people. And, they've had, there's been a lot of talk about benefits being taken away from them, and, all these different things. What are we doing to make, I don't think a lot of people realize there were teachers who've never been trained on it, who've never been giving an education on it. During the pandemic, they were in a classroom teaching to students in front of them in real life, while simultaneously streaming to students online. Nowhere is that taught. It's not like you're asking them to do. And by the way, we also need you to play part-time nurse and check temperatures. We need you to make sure you're also playing the role of, janitorial service and cleaning up and after every classroom, and and they don't get paid well as it is. So now we're looking at a scenario. Why not be creative and say, look, if you want to teach, you have to teach a minimum of 2 classes. You don't have to be here all day. We'll get creative and figure out how this works. Because maybe you get some teachers and say, well, I can teach in the morning time until lunchtime, but because of the pandemic, some things have changed in our household and we don't have daycare after 12:30. I need to be home at 12:30. So I can cover these 3 classes here, and that's what I can do. So should we go without teachers, or should we be flexible and say, hey, these old archaic rules that were put in place that somebody decided they were the standard, and let's actually disrupt this thing, and let's hire the best possible people we can, even if 17 of our teachers are part-time.
Well, let me ask you about that. Let's dive into that a little bit more, because I think a lot of folks have on their mind as we approach September. Fall is not schools is going to, or in a lot of places, is going to be back for a lot of places back in person full. Are you seeing the same type of pushback like we see in corporate America, where a third of the workforce is saying, I'm out of here if I'm remote? Are you hearing from, your wife could probably even speak to that what's she hearing from other colleagues, and you know what, I'd rather do remote teaching. It works out well for me, or no, I hate remote teaching and I want to go back and see the kids in person and my other colleagues and whatnot.
Yeah, I've heard that. I know she's heard that. I've even talked to some superintendents across the country who oversee entire school districts, and they genuinely feel that they have to assess whether or not their entire district ever goes back to a traditional 5-day students in place. So, but again, it's are we romantic to something that was put in place pre-internet, pre-education, all these different things, or are we actually going to look and see what makes sense and figure out how we can create the best possible environment, right? It's like the parent that says, no, you're going to play outside. You're going to do those things.
Right.
Well, if that kid doesn't want to do that, I'm not saying like, force them to do something, like, yeah, okay. But like, are you romantic to that? It's like, so the era, so I'm 41, right? It's the era of the parents in my generation pushing every student to go to university. There was this huge push. Everybody's got to go to university. Everybody goes to university. Our parents were 40 years old and hated their job and wished they could change and didn't know what they wanted to do with the rest of their life. So is that because I want them and I don't want to be the parent at the cookout saying, well, my son Noah, he's, couch surfing in Europe. Am I embarrassed because he's doing that? Or like, we have to get out of these stigmas, and it's going to change. It's not political. It's not about politics. It's about adapting and kind of going back to what I'm doing and traveling. I heard a statement in researching all of this, becoming an expat and, international travel and working from, digital nomads. And I heard a statement that said, go where you're treated best.
Right.
And to me, that resonates so much of why fight. You're not going to win a fight pushing back against a system that doesn't want to change. Right. It's,
right.
it's like fighting an addict, right? Until that person actually wants to change, you can tell them all day long that they're ruining their life. Yeah. Nothing changes.
Nothing changes. But let me ask you about, you hit so many sweet spots there that I want to peel a little more onion on. I find fascinating. I'm wondering if, as the fall approaches and schools mostly going back in person, and you're talking about this great conversation that's happening with educators and school districts, the ability for those school districts, and I've put this out on LinkedIn earlier, talent is everywhere. Technology is enabling that for these types of education and others. And if you look at all of the pro leagues, I'm a big sports guy, I played college sports. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them has people from outside the U.S. Now, those jobs are done in person, right? There's no way you could play football virtually unless you're gaming. But why not other industries? Why can't industries like education go and get the best talent wherever that is to teach the students, whatever it's pre-K, middle, high school, or even college for that matter, the material that needs to be taught? And if you can find, especially I would imagine in the U.S., a lot of rural districts that have a hard time attracting talent, period. Because people generally don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. They want to be, especially younger people, they want to be in a town or city that has more things going on. I would imagine that those smaller school districts may want or are embracing technology to bring in teachers from outside their county or the municipality so they can have students learn advanced algebra or physics or chemistry or whatever the heck that they need to be teaching, so that the students in their area get the world-class education they can get from educators from anywhere that they can hire them.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's asking that question of, is it more important to have the 75,000th ranked chemistry teacher because he can be in person, or through this relationship and our alumni, we can bring one of the top 10 chemists in the world that's willing to come now and teach because he's retired and he wants to give back, but he can only do it virtually? Which one is the best education for those kids?
The second one, for sure, without a doubt.
Absolutely. So it's adapting and understanding these things, and I won't dive too much into it, but so I have a previous relationship and a working relationship with the Minister of Education in Shanghai, China, and the country of China is short 500,000 teachers who speak English language.
Oh,
so what do you think is going to happen? And now they're paying for housing, they're paying for visas, they're providing flexibility. What do you think is going to happen if we have a mass exodus of teachers say, you know what? You don't care about us here, no problem. China's going to look and say, and it's not about China versus the U.S. It's about someone
Economics.
taking advantage of an opportunity where someone else misstepped in business. So if you look at it and you say, okay, this, because I promise you, they're going to be marketing. They already are. They're marketing to these opportunities to American, not just American, but English speaking teachers all around the world, and saying, hey, we're going to give you, they pay more.
Really?
Like we're going to, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to give you more access to come over here. We're going to give you more freedom. We're going to give you whatever you want because we need you. 500,000 English speaking teachers.
That's a lot.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
That would put a hole in the education system as a whole, especially I would imagine whether it's public or private school for that matter, and either force school districts to pay more, which is one option, or secondly to say we're going to get competitive here. We're going to look at it like a team sport. We're going to find the best talent wherever we can get it. Because technology, I mean, that's part of our show is to talk about technology. Technology is allowing us three to talk, and we're all sitting in different places, hundreds, if not thousands of miles apart. But we could still have a discussion. We could still have a dialogue. And if we were teaching and had students, had 50 students or 20 students, whatever the case, they could still learn. There's no impediment there. From throwing a laptop on, a good internet connection, and maybe a pair of headphones, and you're off to the races.
You're totally correct. Absolutely.
Speaking of races, I want to jump into the race for you to go abroad. I want you to talk to folks that are thinking, because one of the things that we talked about leading up to this podcast was, if you're thinking about working from abroad, you talked about China. You just mentioned China and bringing people in, possibly hiring a 500,000 teachers. And there are many others that have started to reassess that after the great pandemic of our short lifetimes, maybe they want to go somewhere different. Maybe lower cost of living is motivating them. Maybe that the fact that they've been in the same city or town all their lives doing the job and they want a fresh start. Or like some companies like Microsoft who said, you know what, you can work anywhere you want, just get manager approval. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you work, get the work done. Manager approves it, you're good to go. And they want to go abroad. What say ye, since you're in the process of doing that yourself?
Yeah, I mean, now obviously it's a little different because I work for myself. So I have some different freedoms there, and I have some different opportunities that are afforded to me. But I do share what I'm going through with other people who are in leadership positions and different things that are out there, and how there is a sense of, I tell people traveling internationally is very much like getting a tattoo. Once you do it once, you kind of have the itch to do it again, right? And I use my brother for example. He had never been out of the country. He had never done this, never done these different things. He traveled with me one time, and now he literally wants to go 2 or 3 times a year. Like he's hooked. And I think having this openness to say, I can get really good internet, not to let the cat out of the bag, but I am moving to Lisbon, Portugal. That is where I am going to be relocating. And I can go there. I can get better internet there than the current city that I currently live in now, faster speeds. I can have all these different work-life balance, better weather, all these different things that I can go access because that is a better situation for me and my family. And having that freedom to go do that, it creates happiness. And ultimately happiness, I believe, is the KPI, if you will, of a successful career. And, it's everybody's definition of it is happy. I know, I mean, there's so much flexibility happening that this is going to become a thing. This is going to be a thing.
Mm. I believe it. Did you wanted to ask something, Dave, or do you want me to?
Yeah, so like what are some of the important things to think about as it relates to like tax implications when moving abroad? Do you still stay a U.S. citizen? Do you apply for citizenship in Portugal? How does that change your tax situation?
Yeah, so I'll give you some insight into what I'm doing and some of the things. Now, I'm not a relocation attorney. I'm not a CPA. So there may be a piece. I'll disclaimer that for all of us here that I may erroneously state something here. But so in my situation, I will be keeping my citizenship with the United States for the foreseeable future. Will there come a time to where I potentially would give that up? I think it depends on how big my business is. I think it depends on the tax implications. And I think, does it make sense? United States, I believe, and I may be wrong by one country here, but I believe is the only country in the world that taxes you on your global income. So no matter where you live, they tax you, right? Which kind of seems a bit wild, but so then when you actually look into that, there is a myth out there that some people think that it's illegal to have dual citizenship, and that's completely not true. I know of people who have 5 and 6 different passports. It is completely legal. Now, the tax implications for me and for what I'm doing in my situation, they have in Portugal, they have what is considered a non-habitual resident. So it's NHR, and that allows me to be there and be a resident of Portugal and be tax-free on any income that I earn outside of the country of Portugal. So my business will still be located here in the United States. I will be subject still to American taxes. I will not be subject to Portugal taxes for 10 years on any money that I don't make or that I make outside of Portugal. There are a couple other things that are in place in the U.S. IRS tax code. There is one that is termed a foreign earned income exclusion, and that is any adult can exclude up to 100. It goes up every year due to inflation. I think this next year it will be $109,000 or $110,000 of federal earned income. I can exclude that from my taxes. So my wife together and I, as employees of our business, will be able to, $220 some thousand dollars a year. Plus, there is, depending on how your status is, we're both self-employed, so I'm fairly certain we'll actually qualify for this as well, to where there's $36,000 a year between the two of us to deduct for foreign housing exclusion for the cost of us living abroad and those things. So there's other benefits and other different things from a tax standpoint, but those, I instantly get a pay raise by just by moving there.
But I would imagine the cost of living is much lower, and because it's much lower, like you said, you get an instant, it's like a pay raise, right?
Yes.
I would imagine you were talking about internet. It's probably cheaper. You said cheaper. So how much would just an internet connection is? How much is that going to cost you over there?
Well, so they do everything over there in packages. This is probably gonna make a lot of people upset, and it certainly frustrated me knowing I got to continue in a year for this. So there'll be a family of 5 of us. So 4 cell phones, because I got a 4-year-old, he doesn't need a phone yet. So four cell phones, 125 channels on cable, and gig internet service over fiber is about $78.
Get the heck out. Where's my ticket? I gotta go.
Yeah. So again, it's these little things. Cost of living is about half of what it is here in the States.
Wow. So if you're making, I don't know, just to keep round numbers, so if you're making $100K and you're able to take that $100K over to Portugal, it's almost like making an extra 30 or 40% more.
Yes.
Wow.
Now it's one or the other. $145,000 American money in Portugal is either the top 1% or top 10% earners in their country. And you can live, you can live a really, really nice life for that.
Very comfortable, I would imagine. You could have help. You said you have kids, so you could have, nanny care if you wanted it to, or even private. I would imagine private tutors for that matter, if you're saving so much more money, so that, if you wanted to have even more work-life balance, you have the help that you need in order to maybe get your business going in Portugal.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
now, so then, are you required to maintain a residence in the States or just a mailing address?
Yep, you gotta have a mailing address. And there's a lot of different services now that exist out there to where you can have a virtual physical mailing address. That's kind of
Yeah.
weird to say, but where they'll actually scan your mail and then send you PDFs of everything that comes in, or you can set it up with a family member, those kind of things. But again, you still file your taxes in both places, or you report your taxes in Portugal, you file your taxes in America. And there's so many people out there that the communities for this stuff really, really are super helpful. I've met with CPAs and different things that are living over there that are United States citizens who are registered with the IRS. I mean, they're so forthcoming with information and help, and it's a really, really cool thing.
So we'll have to grab some of those resources and those groups. You had mentioned to me
Yeah.
earlier that there's a Facebook group, and we'll make sure that we have those posted in the description on the video.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. That you can, the cost of living is much cheaper, and when I know for a lot of people, it's hard to wrap your brain around that there are other places outside of the U.S. that have better, if not faster, internet for a fraction of what a lot of us that have gig internet, including cell phone service for that matter. Throw cell phone service, cell phone service. I pay like $200 a month.
Yeah,
just
so-
for the cell phone.
So let me
Just for me.
give you another scenario that sometimes I don't think, if you guys don't mind, that
Go for it.
sometimes people don't think about. So I know of someone just recently who just a very large company that will probably soon go public was just offered a job, and they offered them a job with two different offers. One was as an employee. Here's your benefits. Here's your salary. Here's the value of your equity. Parallel to that was or if you want to be a contractor, here's a higher salary, higher equity, and then you cover obviously your own benefits and those things. So if you are going to be a contractor, what I would recommend, again, I am not a tax professional. I do not play one on the internet, but if you form an LLC and then you make that part of what that is, right? As a contractor, you set that up as a business. There are many countries out there, Portugal included, that if you were to move that business to their location, you can actually get citizenship, not residency, but dual citizenship off of what they call entrepreneurship visas. Latvia is a big country that does it. The Republic of Georgia, Italy. There are remote cities in Italy where they're actually giving homes or selling homes for like $5,000 to get people to move in and to get to do these things. So, and it's not a scam. It's not like, these are real legitimate things that they recognize and are embracing what is coming, and they're willing to kind of step out in the forefront and say, I mean, think about it.
Wow.
I live in a town of 50,000 people. If 5,000 people moved here that are making $200,000 a piece, our community benefits greatly from that.
Well, those dollars circulate, right? And all
Tax
of the services
money, yeah,
consumed, restaurants
absolutely.
benefit,
Absolutely.
the tax base benefits from that.
Absolutely. It's just like when a company goes public or gets acquired, and in Chattanooga, for example, that's why a lot of people don't know this, but it's a huge startup ecosystem to where they had a couple $1 billion exits, and all that money stayed there. Those people that got the money stayed there. It's why they have the fastest internet in the country. They have all these different things. It's wild, and we don't think about these things. So there are a lot of these things. There's digital nomad visas. There's freelance visas in a lot of these countries to where there are benefits, and you get privileges and you get special tax breaks just by going and living in another country where the cost of living is free, your medical is free, all these different things, just because you own a business and you want to come live there.
That's just fascinating. And what we'll need to do is, like Dave said, is have some of those links, because I'm sure that folks that are watching us during the playback, if you're watching us during the playback, you'd like to know more about maybe you are looking at being a contractor or working remotely, and this suits what you're looking to do. I want those folks to be able to get to those resources. So we'll ask you those. So if you're watching this in playback, check out the description. We'll have links below for you.
This is pretty exciting. We did a whole episode on the top 10 places to relocate here into the United States, Rolando, for
Right.
work at home.
With our friend from PC Mag.
Yep. And Chattanooga rated
Sasha
number
Segan.
one. Chattanooga rated number one. And now we're talking, we're expanding on that topic. It's pretty awesome, pretty exciting. Hey, Shane, where can people find you? I know that you had mentioned that you're starting a blog for your transition into Portugal, but how can people find you if they want to learn more about you?
So on the socials, you can find me at the Shane Howard. It's pretty easy to find. Our YouTube channel that we're launching kind of as a family. So we're actually a week behind on episodes, hence why you may want to rethink going into doing a vlog with your family. There's some nuances, and we'll get into a cadence of better reliability each week for that. But that channel is titled "It's Time to Travel the World." Or it's time to see the world. So you can check us out. Logo's blue with a plane. It's really, really easy. But yeah, I'm more than happy to connect with anybody who wants resources into looking into these things. It's kind of one of those things, just by conversation, a lot of people have heard me talk about it, and then now they are looking into it and moving, and we're probably going to have some folks that I know moving with us when we move. So yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Well, I tell you what, it's certainly convincing for folks that are, maybe there are a lot of people that are working very hard, and there are, if they can work remotely, certainly get a 20, 30, or even up to 40% increase in pay without having to do anything but relocate. And on top of that, the possibility of getting some additional benefits. In some situations, it's a no-brainer if you have that flexibility. And I think the world will be, from what you're saying, it's going to be a very different place. So you have places in Italy doing this, in Latvia. I know that's the case for a lot of countries in Central America as well. As you mentioned, China, they want to poach our talent. It's definitely going to be a very interesting, I would say the next 12 months should be very interesting as things kind of develop along. And I definitely want to check in with you. But before we get to this next 12 months, I want to ask you some things. These are rapid fire questions. These are just to get, so that people get to feel you a little bit, understand who you are a little bit. These are no wrong answer types of questions. So are you ready for those, Ori? All right. So who is your favorite musician or musical group right now, or of all time?
Right now, I'm a big fan of an artist out of Ireland called Dermot, Dermot Kennedy.
And what kind of music is that?
I really don't know how to. It's probably a little mix. He's done some crossover from Ed Sheeran to hip hop. Like I don't really know. I've worked in the music business, kind of behind the scenes, but I don't really get into the whole genre because now everybody's kind of across everything. Some of it even ties into a little bit of folk music, modern folk music, probably from Ireland as well.
Interesting. So check him out if you haven't heard of him. Favorite app on your phone?
Favorite app on my phone? Favorite app on my phone? Probably Spotify. I listen to working from home. I get to listen to music a lot and have my headphones in most of the time. So
Spotify. All right. No, Dave and I have a debate about that. I'm a Pandora guy.
Oh no,
Spotify guy.
No, you got to be converted over. Yeah, yeah.
I could create playlists now and listen to exactly the music that I want. I think Spotify had that for a long time. Pandora now brought that over.
Yeah, they do. One of the big reasons I like to listen to new music, so it's how I came across the artist I just mentioned. So their AI engine and their recommendations are really, really good at recommending you people who are similar to what you listen to. Yeah. And that really is, for me, I won't leave. I'll be there.
Sounds like the TikTok of the streaming world. The TikTok does a lot of that same, recommending people here and there. How about we talked about food earlier? What's your favorite food?
It's probably more a type of food. So I'm here lately. I'm a big Indian curry, anything curry, not spicy. A lot of people don't try Indian or they don't venture into it because they associate spices with spicy. And yeah, there's a lot of and Portuguese food now that I'm heading that way and just left and just really enjoyed a lot of traditional Portuguese dishes while I was over there as well.
Oh man, you're right next to Spain, so you
Oh
get
yeah,
to try southern Spain, and you're not too far from France and southern
yep,
France. Go enjoy
yep.
the wonderful food and wine. Jeez, I may pack my bags and go
Yeah,
with you,
come on
man.
and visit. Yeah, come over there, and we can do a week of remote shows, and I can get you some
Yes.
guests, and you come over there.
Yeah, maybe we make a tour of it. We'll go from Lisbon up to Barcelona, to Madrid, Barcelona. Maybe
Yeah,
do something in Cannes, go up to Paris, and maybe end it in London or something. I don't know.
there you
I'm
go.
glad that I'm glad that this is all being captured on video because this
Proof.
Rolando, there's no turning back, buddy.
Yeah, it's proof. Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
put this. I'm gonna hold you to it.
Oh man, at some point, man, I would love to go. I wanted to go before all this craziness. I wanted to go to see some of our. We have partners and suppliers that work with us in different countries like Germany. I'm dying to go to Germany, see what that's about. There's a lot of great cities and stuff in Germany. So hopefully at some point I'd love to go see some of those partners that we work with out there. And some of these other countries in the European, in the EU. And lastly, I want to ask you, favorite method of communication? This is a multiple choice. We've got email, text, phone, instant message, or DM.
Probably text.
Mm, text message.
Yeah,
Your
text
buddy
that.
Steve said that's his favorite method right now as well. He's big into text.
Yeah, I agree. Well, him being a client of mine, we communicate quite often through text. So yes, that's yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for joining us today, Shane. You've answered all these questions, being a great sport, and dropped a lot of knowledge on us today. A lot to think about. And if you've been watching today, we want to remind you to like and subscribe. We want to bring you more content like this, but let us know. Are we on topic? Maybe we're off topic. Maybe there's other stuff you want us to bring to you. Drop us a comment. Let us know. Reach out to us on all the socials. Hit the like, subscribe, all that stuff. Because we sneak out other insights through the week. And we love engaging with our audience. Now,
Absolutely.
before we move on, let's
So
go
let's
and reveal the answer to that trivia, Dave.
wrap it up with the trivia question. This is just kind of ironic, I think, with this particular question.
Yeah, we'll have to
And-
ask Shane what he thinks.
So, Shane, according to Expat Insider Survey, which of these countries is the most welcoming to foreign workers? Canada, Vietnam, Colombia, Oman, Costa Rica, Portugal, Taiwan, Mexico, Cambodia, Bahrain, and thank you to my producer Ori for putting up the longest multiple choice list ever because you had a feeling that I was going to be the one reading this. So thanks. I'll get you back some other time. So Shane, what do you say here?
I mean, I think I actually know this because I've actually seen the survey and multiple other surveys. It is Portugal.
It is Portugal. So
Yeah.
hey, listen, best of luck with your travels, Shane. I'm going to be following you. Rolando will be following you through this trip and adventure. Certainly will be inspiring others for sure. I got this extra grin on my face today because you've already inspired me.
I appreciate
know,
that.
man.
Thank you guys for having me.
No, with a lot to chew on. No, thanks for coming on. And if you want to know, bonus tip, the number 2 country was Mexico and the number 3 was Taiwan. So it was I think in this survey, the first time Portugal had jumped all the way to the top spot because they were always hanging out in the top 5, but they jumped to number 1, taking over Mexico and Taiwan. So it's really interesting. You're going to the best place that foreigners think are very welcoming. So kudos to you. I can't wait to see how your adventures play out online on YouTube. So I'll be also subscribing and liking to your vlog there.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the journey.
Awesome. Awesome. And Ori, we're going to end screen here. We want to remind people. Okay. So I think I got to look this way. Let me look this way. I think that's where it's at, right? So if you made it all the way to the end of the stream or watching us on Instagram, we have other helpful videos right here in these squares that you want to check out. Myself and Dave, and let's see, we got future of work and some other videos that will be helpful as your journey goes through the remote working process, or you want to find out what it's like when you do work from home and you need technology to make it easier for you. So thank you for joining, and I will see you in that next video.